It has literally, well, I've literally just walked through the door. I've come back from holiday, and because I post twice a week on YouTube, I obviously have to stick to this routine. So what I did last time, I did do a Q&A. I got a lot of questions, so I left a couple knowing that when I come off this flight, depending on what time I come home, it allows me then to have something that I can put up online. And I'm doing it in a vertical format just because it seems to get a bit of better engagement. So the first one that I didn't answer is any advice that I would give to my younger self with regards to health. So for context, I'm 31, and if I'm being honest, there are a few things. I mean, I didn't start going to gym until I was about 17 because there was a lot of restrictions back then with when you could go to the gym. So a lot of places, especially within the city centre, you were looking at 16 as a minimum, but it was quite hard to get into them places. So 17, I started fully going to gym. At the time, I was still playing footy. So when I started going to gym, I used to play like centre half, and then went to, well, centre half and centre defensive mid, basically holding mid. And then when you started going to gym, started to bulk out, it was a bit useful when you used it in the sport. But in terms of any health advice I would give, so definitely start training my legs a lot sooner. I wouldn't say my legs are bad now, they're pretty strong. I have had them to strong levels, especially during early 20s. Even now, they're probably strong by a lot of people's standards, but I didn't start doing squats, for example, until I was about, must have been 19. And I remember the first time I done a barbell squat, even the bar on my back was, I don't know, uncomfortable. And then you just shoot up, you go to 20, 40, 60, and then you're in the hundreds. Then I broke the 200 kilo barrier. So train my legs earlier and do them with more frequency and volume. The next health advice I would have given myself is to lay off socially drinking. And I stopped drinking now, so it's 3 years to this week. And I've done that for a couple of reasons. Personal reasons, because of all the evidence I've looked into, alcohol, it's not that good for you. I don't think there's any direct health benefits. The only one that I would say is a drawable benefit of alcohol is the social inclusion side of things, which isn't a health benefit in the sense that it's going to improve functionality in its own right. But if you are one that is socially deprived and the only way you can interact with other people are through drinking, then by all means, that is probably a benefit there. But I definitely would have stopped drinking alcohol a lot sooner. And the reason why it was so hard to stop, and for context, when I say stop drinking alcohol, I wasn't that big of a drinker anyway. I'd probably drink on a Saturday. I would probably have more Coronas. I never drank spirits, so probably like 6 to 8 Coronas of a Saturday night. So nothing crazy by anyone's standards. And I don't know, it was just obviously a big culture thing, going to university, going to the footy games, all these things are quite easy to get caught up with drinking, and especially when you are the only person who doesn't drink, especially being from where I'm from, my ethnicity, religious beliefs, all them things, it doesn't, it's harder for people to understand that because obviously I'm not from a Middle Eastern country, so then straight away Islam and all these other things don't come into people's minds. So definitely stopping drinking earlier than 28 and using that time in a better way. Train my legs from an earlier age, that would have definitely been something I would have done. Obviously, if anyone's got any questions, I can actually see them in the bottom. So anyone who's joined, thanks for joining. If anyone's got a question with relation to health, fitness, medicine, anything like that, by all means, fire away. I'm just going through questions that overran from a recent video. The next question is, what would I ever do a competition in the sense of Hyrox, marathon, all these things? And years ago, I would have said, yeah, I always wanted to do a marathon just because I know a few people who have it within the family. It is still a big feat, but now when you watch social media and you see people doing ultra marathons or back-to-back Ironmans and all these other things where it actually is taken away from how big of an achievement doing a marathon is. Running 26.2 miles is no easy feat. If you were to go out there straight away, and obviously the history of the marathon, whether this is true, that the messenger ran to deliver a message, it ended up being 26.2 miles and then he dropped dead. on delivery of the message. Whether that's true or not, or folklore, I don't know. But the idea of running 26.2 miles without any training, or even with training, it is still a daunting task. So that is something that I would like to do, and I know that if I were to go and do a marathon or train for a marathon, that it would hinder a lot of other things that I have within my routine. Training would go more from strength training to more aerobic based, which will have benefits but also has a lot of drawbacks, because building muscle obviously is a very big thing for metabolic health. So I would like to do it. Hyrox, I was interested when it first come out. I've become less interested now because it seems more of, it's not a cult, but I feel like it is going in that direction of becoming like a cult. So I don't want to do a Hyrox. By all means, I would do it from a fun perspective. I wouldn't do it to, I don't know, whether not to boost any egos or to combine it or compare it to any other metrics. So in that relation, yes, I would like to do a marathon, and I think that is something that I would be doing or will be doing in the next 2 to 3 years anyway. The next question was, what 3 things can everyone do to be healthy? And this is in relation to the average Joe. Again, health, fitness, wellness, all these things, buzzwords, etc., they require a lot of hard work. They require a lot of effort. They require someone's alignment to be with improving their health. It's not something that you can really accumulate. Oh, sorry, it's not something that you can acquire overnight. It's not something you can go and purchase. So it's whether you want to identify and improve your way going forward with regards to health. So first thing would be daily activity. That doesn't have to be anything strenuous. Like, it could be something as simple as getting up to just walk. Doesn't have to be 10,000 steps. 10,000 steps, for anyone who is wondering, come from the 1964 Tokyo Olympics. It was a marketing campaign for the pedometer, which stood for 10,000 steps in Japanese. So that's where that come from. A lot of the science has come from the back end of that, but that's how I've interpreted it anyway. And it does show that having 10,000 steps a day, which equates to about 5 miles for the average person, is beneficial to do, and I would not argue with that. But if you are not exercising, you're not doing any basal activity whatsoever, do not go all out to do 10,000 steps, because you will create, again, it's all about consistency. What systems are you going to be able to put in place to enjoy? So just go up and move. But daily activity, try and aim for 30 minutes a day. If you want to cling to a number, 30 minutes a day. If you want to cling on to more things, then by all means try and strength train 2 to 3 times a week, and that means putting resistance on the muscle. That could be using a weight, it could be using body weight in terms of pull-ups or squats. It is putting resistance on the muscle so that it is stressing it to grow, because you want more muscle mass for a lot of things. Aesthetics are the main reason why I got into it, but also metabolically, it improves glucose function, insulin sensitivity, reduces your diabetes risk and cardiovascular risk. It also has the functionality. Muscles are there to move the skeleton. So without adequate muscle mass, then you are not able to function at a high enough level. So daily activity is one of the 3 things. The next one would be adequate amount of sleep. This is by far, well, this is within my worst 2 things that I implement. I am getting better at it, but sleep is something that we have not been able to shake loose of in evolution. So we've been able to get rid of a lot of things in evolution, whether that be appendixes, all these other things where you don't really need them to function in the human body. But if you took away sleep for the majority of the human population, or anything within the animal kingdom, it wouldn't be able to survive that long. And obviously it's been used as torturing techniques within world wars. But if we aren't able to shake it through evolution, despite it putting us at such a big risk of harm, because when you're asleep or sleeping, you are vulnerable to attack. So it's got to be important, and numbers to aim for, I would say 7 to 8 hours. You don't want to overshoot it, you don't want to go too much, but you will find people can function on less, and being able to function and what is optimal are 2 different things. I can function quite well on about 6 hours sleep a night, and that's what I was functioning on for a long time. But if I were to get 8 hours, them extra 2 hours, and when I do have them, you can tell a big difference, especially when you've gone through all the stages of sleep, such as REM, deep sleep, and you've done it in the right way. You can improve your health tenfold. So daily movement, adequate amount of sleep. And the next one, which is something that I need to focus on a bit more, is stress management. People think stress as a psychological input. So they think it's what you're thinking about in your brain. It can't have any physical effects on what you are doing, which is completely not correct. So stress is also related to cortisol. It's increasing blood pressure, it's increasing blood glucose, or the utilization of amino acids, proteins, all these things where it's not just the psychological aspects. So that is the third thing, is control the amount of stress that you are having. I've started doing this by doing a bit more journaling. I try and do that a bit more. I'm not the best at it. I need to improve on it, but it's just about getting your thoughts onto a piece of paper. I think that's a big thing. Caffeine is one thing where a lot of people can eliminate caffeine to reduce stress, because once you get over a certain threshold, you become more anxious, you become more susceptible to them effects. That is not what happens to me, so I keep caffeine within enough quantities. So yeah, they're the three things I would definitely advise anyone to do. Move daily, sleep 7 to 8 hours, and reduce the amount of stress. Walking in nature, it's proven. If you open up any laptop now, most of the desktops are landscapes within nature, because it is proven to calm yourself down. Whether you take a walk with birds singing, there's a certain frequency where it does align within human biology. So definitely them three things, if you were to simplify probably the most complex subject in the world. The last question that I had was, is there anything else outside of what I do on a daily basis, such as work or obviously social media, trying to grow a channel around health and fitness, that I enjoy? One thing that I definitely do enjoy, and I think I asked this question or got asked it the other day, is what would be my dream job? My dream job, if there was no boundaries to getting it, would be to be a car reviewer. Now, I know that sounds really, I don't know, probably completely different to what a lot of people expect. But from a young age, I've been obsessed with cars. I went through a stage of doing art where I was designing cars interiors and the exteriors, and doing a full-blown, I don't know, start to finish design of a car, basically. And then I got into Top Gear. I think first time I watched it was 2002. So I would have just about to turn 8. And then from that point then, I just continued to watch it. I was just really interested with cars, and I was lucky at the time because my granddad used to build a lot of cars, a lot of classic cars at the time. So Jaguar E-Types, he'd have Bentley Mulsannes, he'd have a lot of cars, Mark II Jags, XJ6s, all these things where he was able to obtain all these cars, take me out for drives in them. And then I think that just what further, I don't know, grew this interest in cars. I've been able to have a nice selection of cars. Obviously not the selection that I would have on paper, but it's still, I've been fortunate enough to have such a collection. But definitely that would be my dream job, and that's what I love to do outside of work. Is I'm constantly on car websites pricing up cars. Is there a chance that I can get this X amount of car? Can I get this? So yeah, that is what I enjoy. I think I mentioned this last time. Footy, yes, always a big part of my life, was a very big part of my life. Less so now. I mean, Liverpool are playing tonight. I was on a flight until about, I've only been in the house for 15 minutes anyway, so however long this live's been going. So I wasn't going to match anyway, but years ago I probably wouldn't have missed it. I would have made every provision to go to the match tonight. So that's a thing that I'm still interested in, but not as, it doesn't take over my life to the same levels. And traveling, other things I love to do, travel. I feel a bit underwhelmed with the most recent travel. So I went to Dubai, just come back, and so just come back from Dubai. It's a crazy place for anyone who hasn't been. Weather wasn't the best, so probably underwhelmed from that point, because I thought it'd be a lot better than what it was. We stayed on a palm, and I don't know, I just feel completely underwhelmed from it, because in reality I just want to completely take what I do on a daily basis from the clinics and go to more social media, go to building an online community, which is what I'm in the middle of doing. But that is the ultimate goal, is to create a lifestyle that I love to do every day. My simple day, my ideal day from start to finish. And this is what I advise anyone to do if you want to try and envision something, or see if it's practical, see if it's something that you want to chase in the first place, is map out your ideal day. And mine just very simple: get up in a nice warm climate where it's sunny, have a nice coffee, go for a walk, have another coffee. I'm obsessed with coffees, and I'm not addicted to caffeine because I can have them as decaf. So before anyone says that, I just like the taste of it, and I like the idea that it's the only drink other than water that I have. So it's just a bit different, something that I enjoy. I'd probably have a bit of food, go to the gym, come back, have something with purpose, because you've got to have purpose in your life. My purpose would be helping people to improve their health, wellness, fitness, and then I would, yeah, chill, relax, have a nice meal. I'm pretty simple. That is what I would like to do. But yeah, they were the only questions that I had where they overran. So the 4 questions, for anyone who didn't hear them all, was what advice would I give to my younger self with regards to health? I basically said stop drinking alcohol from an earlier age. So I stopped at 28, I'm now 31. And to do a lot more leg training with higher frequency. Next one was, would I ever do a competition in regards to like a Hyrox or marathon? Definitely marathon. Not really that interested in Hyrox at the moment, unless it dies down and a lot of people then fall out of it. Then I might go for it. That's one thing I like to do, is I don't really like to follow trends or go with a lot of things. I like to just do things that if I'm interested in it, then I'll do it. If I'm not, then obviously I'll leave it for that time. What 3 things can the average Joe do to be healthy? Move daily. It's all relative to your baseline. Make sure you are moving, doing some form of activity. If you are doing more than just moving and you've got more capacity to further enhance that, then that would be resistance training. Like I said before, that's loading muscle, weight or tension on the muscle to then grow it, because that's good metabolically. It will then to do some aerobic activities. So I don't know, 3 times 30-minute sessions a week. And what else was it? Yoga and mobility, something I don't do enough of. And that also ties into the last thing here, which is going to be stress reduction. The next thing would be to sleep more, 7 to 8 hours a night. Try and go through REM sleep. So if you've woken up and you haven't really had a dream, you may not feel as rested as normal. The best ways to get yourself into these different stages of sleep, again, it's something that you cannot guarantee. I cannot go to bed tonight and say, I'm going to have 3 hours of REM, I'm going to have 4 hours of deep sleep and 1 hour of light sleep. You can't do that. Well, not in this day and age anyway. So the ways that you increase that are by setting your environment first. So cooling the temperature of the room, because that signals that we are ready to sleep. The body does drop its core temperature throughout the night. We also drop our core, heart rate. So you'll see your lowest heart rate throughout the night. It's the point at where we try and conserve as much energy as possible. And that's why when you are about to rise and wake up in the morning, your temperature rises. So that's why you can see these smart mattresses where they'll put you into a cooler temperature if you want to sleep for longer. And then when you want to wake up at a certain time, it'll start heating up the mattress at a certain, maybe 15 minutes beforehand. So that's one way to do it. Reading a book, reducing the amount of blue light through screens, social media anyway, regardless of the blue screens or the blue light anyway, I would say to avoid, because it just sends you, obviously you're listening to this through social media, but in a lot of circumstances it can be negative. It can come across as, I don't know, it can come across in a bad way, especially if you aren't in a place that you want to be, whether that be physically, whether that be financially. So try and remove social media anyway. How else would you put yourself into a good sleeping pattern? Caffeine has a half-life of 5 hours, so try to have your last dose of caffeine as early on in. I think this is because it is connected via Bluetooth, but but I've just done something then actually. It should be on. But yeah, stress reduction, big thing, something that I am very poor at. It is something that normally presents physically, and that's when someone will intervene as opposed to the psychological effects of stress. It's the physical, so it's the psoas muscle, it's the hip flexors, it's the chronic lower back pain. They're all tied to mentality, and a lot of people don't have that connotation because, and I actually heard and read something the other day, how true it is, I do not know. But when you are stressed, so obviously everyone's aware of this flight or fright response. So if you see an animal where you're meant to be stressed, you're meant to run away from, you're scared, you are then priming your muscles, mainly your hip flexors, your lower back, etc., and core to try and get away quicker. If you are stressed through, I don't know, so for me, in the next 2 days, I've got to do my taxes, so that's quite a stressful thing. Let's say it overwhelms me in a certain way. I'm obviously not evading danger in regards to a physical threat. So if I am not managing stress well, I'm still building tension up within the hip flexors and lower back, etc. So that's why you get a lot of lower back and hip pain. How true it is, I haven't read into it. I just had a quick glance over a proposed study on it. But it's quite logical, so I can see where that is. But like I said, no one really presents with the psychological effects of stress. It's normally when it's too physical. I've had quite a few physical effects of it. If you met me in person, you think I was probably blasé and I handle stress very well, and I think I do. But every, I don't know, 12 months, the body always wants to make me know that I'm probably not handling it as well as I should. And then the last question was anything outside of health, fitness, wellness that I'm interested in. And the main one is cars. I'd say that is the main thing that I'm interested in. Cars, football, then travel. Well, I'd say cars, travel, then football now, which is ironic because it would never have been in that way. But definitely, if anyone wants to start up a car review channel, has access to a lot of really high exotic cars, by all means, I would love to do that and I would send the CV over. Full UK driving license anyway. But it's been 22 minutes. Like I said before, at the very beginning, I've literally just walked through the door and put this on as a live because I try and post every Wednesday and Sunday. This is going to class as my Wednesday post from a long form perspective. And one thing whilst I was away was I'm trying to work out, everyone has a niche on social media to try and grow the channel. And that is one thing that I've struggled with because I like to do a lot of things. I like to work out. I've got a passion for physical fitness and try and pushing myself to the next level. I have a lot of passion for the science within preventative health. A lot of it, to probably 99% of the population, is boring. But without knowing it and knowing it in detail, you then can't navigate the misinformation which is rife on social media. Obviously, everyone's got a camera, everyone's got access to internet, especially within the Western world. How easy is it for me to pick up this camera tonight and say, this is the best way to lower your blood pressure, this is the best way to get a six-pack? And some people will believe it, some people take it as face value without doing any research on the person who's giving it. So my background is within clinical pharmacy. I'm a prescriber. I have clinics on a daily basis, but the reason I set up this channel was because I agree with medication and treatment, but I don't agree with it as a first point of call. And don't get me wrong, there are conditions that no diet or lifestyle would offset in the long run. And a lot of people are quite naive in terms of, you'll hear it, I heard it whilst I was away, oh, take this, it's natural, it's not a medication. Well, a lot of medication, if you actually understand pharmacology anyway, are based on natural plants. So they come from certain, I don't know, pick one at the top of my head, digoxin comes from the digitalis plants for arrhythmias. So we do base a lot of things on that, but people feel as though a supplement is different to a medication. It's all the same things. You're still putting something into your body which could be treated through other ways, and that's what I'm trying to do first is, can you move your body? Can you adapt your diet? Can you reduce stress? Can you improve sleep? Can you do all them things first and get them as the foundations? If they are not mitigating any disease or they are making your condition no better, then they're still good to have. You should have them as your foundation anyway. And then from that point, we can then try and optimize your health going forward. There are instances that I'm looking into for myself where I haven't got any active disease within a certain area, but I know the area that I can intervene with certain treatments because it, I don't know, it alters with genes, for example, that I have a better outcome in the future. And they're all things that I want to explore, but that is what I would like to do on a daily basis, is grow a channel where people feel at ease at what I'm talking about, which is quite hard because to get people's attention on social media, you've got to be not clickbaity, but you've got to just basically say it within layman's terms. You've got to say, oh, check this and it'll do this, or do this and it'll do this. Whereas in reality, if you want the best message and the best results, you've got to give a bit of context. You've got to give a bit of the boring science to a lot of people, which will then draw them away from people. I could probably name quite a lot of people at the moment who are misleading a lot of people online, and it's only because they've got a really good physique or they are making a lot of money in certain avenues that people are inclined to listen to them because they feel as though it might be working for them. Believe you me, when you work within health and you see what's going on behind the scenes and you can see a lot of the issues going on, that it's a very, very capitalistic world and it's quite sad, but that's the name of the game, I suppose. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Where am I from? I'm from Liverpool, so if you're not too familiar where Liverpool is, it's in the northwest of England. But I'm going to go and get a quick shower and I'm going to go to bed and go and sort out all this social media plan going forward. I don't know how to target it. There's a few people that I want to speak to see how they would do it, where they're balancing up clinical experience, trust, but then also making sure people actually, do I know Hindi? No. I know English. I used to be able to read and write Latin and Spanish. That's it really. But yeah, I'm going to speak to a few people and then do a short now to put up online, and then my next video will be on Sunday. So if anyone's still here, thanks for watching and I will see you hopefully at some other point.